Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. Adam Dorsay, a psychologist in Silicon Valley and the host of SuperPsyched, a podcast dedicated to supercharging your life. Each episode contains fun, high-quality interviews with experts looking at psychology from all angles. SuperPsyched is your tool to get more of what you want in your life and less of what you don't. It's hard to believe that my book came out 9 months ago, and it's so much fun to talk to my readers about the book. One of the consistent pieces of feedback I got was that the readers fell in love with a particular character in the book, and that would be none other than my Grandpa Ben. My Grandpa Ben is one of my favorite topics of all time. I mean, when I first met this man, at least in my memory, I can remember just the amount of laughter and fun we had, and that was sustained throughout my nearly 36-year relationship with this incredible man. And he was just so much fun that I would rather do nothing with him, sit in his store, rather than go to someplace exciting like Disneyland. That's the degree, and that's not an exaggeration. That's literally how much I loved being around the guy. I'm going to give you just a little bit of a background on him. He grew up in Bangor, Maine, the son of a junk dealer who was a first-generation emigre from what was then Russia, and he apparently snowshoed, the father, just to give you a sense of these times, snowshoed in dead of winter from Boston to Bangor, Maine. Hard to imagine. Ended up having a junk business, so you can imagine trying to basically pay for the lives of 9 children plus a wife. Quite outstanding. It's hard to imagine. My grandpa would end up playing basketball in high school and semi-pro ball for Bangor, Maine itself, traveling and getting paid a few bucks here and there. As to whether or not he graduated high school, it's up in the air. No one really knows, but we do know that one day he was at Coney Island and he was eating an Eskimo pie, and he offered a very pretty woman a bite of his existing Eskimo pie, and she said, most certainly not, in like very formal English. That woman would become my Grandma Rose. Thankfully, he ended up buying her a brand new Eskimo pie, and things went better from there. Although not without their bumps in the road. They did sustain a marriage that lasted them just shy of 70 years, if you can imagine. So something went right there. Grandpa Ben was utterly hilarious. He may have left Maine, but Maine never left him. He lived in Queens, New York. He owned a dress shop where he was a very, very good dress salesman. Women loved coming to his store and feeling beautiful, and he'd make them feel super at home. And this was just a talent. He was charming. Later, after he would retire after many years, he retired, I think, at the age, if I'm not mistaken, at around the age of 76. I think he sold the shop in 1989. So if memory serves, he was about 76 when he retired. And like many New Yorkers and people from his generation, he moved to Florida. He stayed active. He kept his brain active. He kept his body active. He became a shuffleboard superstar. And there was never a time that I didn't love hanging out with my grandpa. And Grandpa loved to try to drop knowledge whenever he possibly could. One of the things I cited in my book, and it's worthy of repeating here, was we were going to a swap meet in Fort Lauderdale, and he parked his car way, way far away from all the other cars in the parking lot. He didn't mind a good walk. And as he was about to park the car, he said, "So, Adam, when you park the car, make sure you park the car away from the other cars so the other cars don't hit your car." And I said, "Grandpa, I'm not sure I got that," because I really wanted to hear him say that as many times as possible, if not 20. And he said, "When you park the car, make sure you park the car away from the other cars so the other cars don't hit your car." I probably made him repeat that 5 times, pretending I didn't understand what he was saying, just because I was taking so much joy in hearing that accent that, park the car in Harvard Yard has got nothing on the sentence my grandfather had just dropped. And as silly as that advice sounded, especially how much I was clowning on it, there was real wisdom to it. Because why not get the extra steps in, and why not protect our cars from getting chips and dents from other cars? I think that's a pretty wise little piece of information. And my children are definitely carrying that tradition on. We park away from other cars. And by the way, when he figured out that I was, clowning on him and his accent, he just said, "Oh, you." But we had that kind of good relationship. He could clown on me whenever he wanted to. He would leave me these voicemails that were so hilarious. It was actually not even a voicemail, it was an answering machine, if you can remember those. I'd be sleeping in on a Sunday and he'd call me early in the morning and say, wake up, you got to get out of bed. Come on, don't be a lazy schmuck. Go do something. He was hilarious. And listener, you are in for a treat. I am including none other than one of the messages left by my grandfather on my answering machine. It's, to my ear, one of the most hilarious messages because he's talking to me as if I am, 9 years old. I was in my early 20s and they were very kind to pay for a trip for me to come out to visit them in Florida. And I had, traveled the world, and he was talking to me as if I had never been to an airport. So it's absolutely hilarious. You all, as a bonus, get to hear the interplay between him and my grandma Rose. And I've played it for people outside the family. This is not just funny for people in the family. This is funny, period. So for your listening pleasure.
Hello? Adam, this is Grandma Rose from Florida. Ben? He's not on the phone. We got talking machine. We thought we would get you home. Grandpa...
the answering service?
Yes. What are you going to do?
Okay, so we'll talk.
I'm sorry. Grandpa was talking to me. Grandpa will meet you on Friday morning at 9 o'clock in the morning.
When the baggage comes in.
Where the baggage comes in, get on the phone, you could talk to him.
If you would come in the American Airlines and you would go down for your bag, that's where you go, where the bags come in. When you come in, when you get to that area where the bags come in, just go out on the sidewalk. That's where I will come along. I will pick you up at 9 o'clock. If you're a little bit late, I'll circle around. But I'll wait until about 9 to be there. I'll leave the house about 8:30. Now, let me ask you another question. We didn't send you the money because we knew you were going away. Now, when you come here, we'll either give you a check or cash. What would you prefer? Now, if you want cash, when you come here Friday, I'll get it for you. If you want a check, we'll give it to you. But that was the reason we didn't send the money, because we didn't know whether you'd be home to get it.
Okay, darling? Love you.
See you later.
So Grandpa Ben and his goofiness and his wisdom sometimes were intertwined. Another great story, just to give you a sense of this man's flavor, I would typically fly in on the red eye either to Miami or to Fort Lauderdale. Sometimes I would just rent a car, and sometimes he would actually pick me up. One time he did pick me up, and we went to his local fish market. This was a Friday morning because, as I mentioned, I took the red eye Friday. And we walk in, and he proudly declares in a very loud announcement, "It's Tuesday." Thinking to myself, oh no, Grandpa, are your cognitive faculties declining? I whisper in his ear and I said, Grandpa, it's Friday. And he said, Adam, you know this, and I know this, but they don't necessarily know this. They have discounts on Tuesdays. And at that moment, I realized there was no way that I would ever be able to describe this man to my unborn children, because at that time, I wasn't even close to being married. I was in my 20s, and I realized I had to get him on video. So one of the things I want you to take away from this is you have a phone, you've got a video capturer. If there is somebody elderly in your life whose stories you want to get on video, trust me, they want to tell you their stories in all likelihood, barring the possibility of extreme trauma and not wanting to revisit something. But most elderly folks have stories, and there's actually an empirically sound form of psychotherapy called reminiscence therapy, which at its heart is talking about one's memories and what did it all mean. And if you give the elderly people the gift of reminiscing, they will give you the gift of pearls of wisdom you can't possibly imagine. They will also give you an insurance policy that their images and how they were in day to day are retained. Many of us have photos of our loved ones who are now passed at a wedding. They might be wearing a tuxedo, but they never wore a tuxedo never wore that dress. We want to get them in their day-to-day attire as if we're having a cup of coffee with them, a cup of tea, whatever. So my children have seen Grandpa Ben in all of his glory with his big Maine accent, and that has been really, really a benefit to them. I think about Grandpa Ben and his legacy. One of the things that he said to me as I was interviewing him was, Adam, you're really good at this interviewing thing. Maybe someday you should go to CBS and bring your stuff, and who knows, maybe they'll pay you lots of money. And I said, my grandpa, like he was, from outer space. I'm like, Grandpa, I know you think I'm good, but I'm just, I don't think it's going to happen. While I'm not interviewing for CBS, I am now nearly 300 episodes into a podcast that I really love, and I really do love interviewing. And I think about my Grandpa Ben and his recognition. He saw something in me. And those interview skills, of course, are represented when I'm doing psychotherapy with individuals and couples who come to my office. So Grandpa Ben is with me. Both of my sons have his name in some way embedded in their name as a memorial of my grandpa. My grandpa would have loved his great-grandchildren, who obviously he never got to meet. But I think about him every day. And sadly, I still cry about him in my sleep. It was hard for me to cry at his funeral. There were so many people around, and during the part when we were sitting in front of the casket and it was open for a final goodbye, there were people talking, and it kind of interfered with my ability to really feel my tears. So a tip I might even give is, if you are in a quiet, sacred space, perhaps where a coffin is open, maybe allow everybody to have their own silent experience. That's just one of my takeaways from that, because I remember I'm actually tearing up as I'm talking right now, but not getting to shed a tear was something I always felt a little sad about. I wish I could have done that. I think about him every day, miss him more than I can possibly say. I cry about him in my sleep. I talk about him all the time to my children. They know all the stories, and now so do you. So thanks for listening, and thanks for making this podcast a thing, because without you listening, I would just be talking into a mic. This is Dr. Adam Dorsay thanking you for listening to SuperPsyched. If you know anyone who might like it or who might benefit from listening, share it. And if you like the episode, please hit subscribe